Lately I have been inking a lot of book pages, and I've been using these tissue papers, like this one. And that means that after making all of these pages, I have ended up with half bled out tissue paper. Like this one. This used to be orange, like this one. But it is almost white in some places because I've used it so much. And this one used to be darker green, like this one perhaps. Anyway, it feels wasteful to just chuck these. I mean, some of them I do chuck because I can't use everything. You know, when you do junk journaling, nothing is junk, so you become a hoarder. And sometimes I just have to throw things away. But I have found a way of using these, at least to some extent, which is better than not using them at all. And that is by gluing them onto pages of text, for example. So I have these pages from a book about old handwriting, and I have glued these leftover tissue papers onto them. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So the technique I use is decoupage. So I use PVA glue mixed with water. You can use Mod Podge, I suppose. I haven't done it because it's a long time since I bought ready-made Mod Podge, because it's so much easier to just buy wood glue at the local hardware store and mix with water. So that's what I'm using here. And as you can see, I have this, I should say it's coffee dyed, the page I'm using as a base. It doesn't have to be coffee dyed, of course. I guess it makes the the end result darker. I didn't even think of that when I started. I just wanted to use these pages. And here we have a piece of tissue paper that is really, it's not only pink, there are like stains from other papers and from Ecoline watercolors that I've used as well on the same pages. So there's black and orange and purple in there, and it looks really good, I think. It makes it really unique, and it's really, I mean, I haven't painted these papers this way. They turned out that way while I was using them for a project. So I really like that element of the unpredictable and getting surprises. That's just how I like to do things. And now I'm choosing more papers, and I'm choosing the ones that have quite clear text. You know, it's not too faint, because I wanted to show through the tissue paper. And also I wanted to be fairly, that I wanted to cover the page. So there's a block of text instead of individual short paragraphs or something. So same technique again. I'm just covering it all with my homemade Mod Podge, and then I choose a tissue paper to use. And I find that, I mean, you can use a brush, but in the end I just put gloves on and use my hands because it's quicker, and it's more intuitive to me to use my hands because I can feel what I'm doing. I can feel the the wrinkles in the paper and whatnot. So yeah, that's how I prefer to do it. So let's have a look at the results and troubleshoot, because I have noticed some recurring problems. For example, this one, there's a bubble here. I guess I could just open it up with the help of my nails. But as you can see, it has the paper warps, and so the tissue paper on top sort of, well, if the paper warps like this and the tissue paper covers it like this, you get bubbles. So that's one thing you want to avoid. How, you ask? I'm not sure. But I'm going to just put some more glue or Mod Podge on top, just to, and hoping it goes into the cracks well. But maybe keep an eye out for that while you're working. Or if someone has a particular solution, write it in the comments. Here as well, well, this is not a whole, yes it is. Here there's the additional problem of the glue pooling in this way. So I think there's both an air bubble and pooling glue. But other than that, I mean, this looks quite nice. And I should mention that this tissue paper used to be yellow, so there are yellow edges here where it hasn't quite bled out while I was inking. But then I've also used Ecoline watercolors on top to, no, not on top, underneath, to get, so the page I was inking was mostly yellow, but then I added some red and purple. So that becomes part of the tissue paper and can be quite beautiful when you reuse it. Right, what else have we got? This one, same here, some purple in the middle of all that yellow, and some greenish blue down here. And it hasn't, there are kind of bubbles in this one as well, or pockets of air. But I think maybe if you put lacquer on it or some kind of varnish, it makes it less brittle, because now there's just a glue and water, Mod Podge basically, and the paper is really brittle, so you might tear it because of these bubbles. But if you add a layer, why don't I do it? Instead of just talking about it. So I use, it's really not for crafting, it's a kind of lacquer for wooden walls, like, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's for interior decorating, I don't know. But I have found that it really works for craft projects, because I don't like to buy new things if I don't have to. So we bought a lot of these tins, or whatever it's called when it's plastic, a few years ago, and then we never used it because it was cheap. They had some kind of drive. No, that's a Swedish word. Anyway, so I've found a way to use all that lacquer up, or varnish. That really, it's a win-win situation. And this will dry completely transparent and very shiny. So of course you may use other kinds of varnish that are less shiny, depending on what effect you want. I'm sorry, in some of these videos I'm really struggling with my words, but I don't know, I don't want to not film just because I have language problems. So instead you get to listen to me struggling, which I'm sorry about, but it is what it is. Right, oh, oops. This one turned out really nice. This I could use for a book cover, because that's also something I'd like to do with these, to use these, because do you know the paper blanks notebooks that have writing like this and sort of, well, really beautiful colours on the cover? I'd like to do something like that with these. This is just a green tissue paper. Well, there are traces of orange here as well, but that's not deliberate. But I mean, you could use this for cards, journaling cards, or backgrounds of any kind. You could make envelopes using these, or pockets, and glue something on. And that one. Yeah, most of these are quite beautiful.